Welcome to episode 12 of the Sideletters podcast, a weekly B2B insights on film, tech, and future business in Europe, made for professionals and decision makers in a creative economy such as you. The Sideletters is a conversation between us, three European producers, and our guests, exploring what's going on in the markets, and we share our individual perspectives on that. It's April 29, and we've got a couple of things to talk about. So some news hit last week. It's the new Writers Guild deal. We're going to look into that quickly. And the RTL Sky merger that was approved last week. And then we're happy to welcome our guest Kjersti, the CEO of the Norwegian Film Institute and one of the major figures behind the recent success of Norwegian cinema. And of course, all of this matters for the creative industry in Europe. This week, it's again me, Fabian Massa, producer working in Berlin and Hamburg.
And me, Anna Szymańska, producer from Warsaw, but recording in Paris today. And we are looking forward to Jennifer's return next week.
So you're meeting Jennifer there?
No,
Paris?
because she's in London. This is the life of an independent consultant. But Fabian, while Jennifer is enjoying her time and work in UK, let's look at the two stories that we digged up for the news section for this recording. They look on the surface totally different, but I think they are actually two sides of the same coin. So maybe let's start with the news that just came out. Writers Guild in the US ratified a new 4-year deal with the studios with 90% approval, which sounds great. There will be no strike. But I think there is one thing that caught my attention, and it was a voter turnout. Last time, when they were voting the contract, when they did the same procedure, they nearly had 9,000 people voting out of 11,000 members. And this time, as Deadline reports, without revealing any specific numbers, the participation, the turnout was significantly down. Much fewer members showed up. What does that tell you, Fabian?
Well, it's a couple of things maybe. So first of all, there's no massive strike this time, but maybe the scale of what has been discussed is a bit different. Last time it was about AI and the whole insecurities about that. Now it's basically about health plans. But seeing this now, I think it's a sign that the industry is clearly contracting. You know, there's less work and fewer writers being engaged, and it's all about healthcare, the New Deal. So it says also something. So this is like a form of consolidation there. And the deal itself actually shows this very clearly. So the studios gave them more than 300 million to bail out their health plans because it's in crisis, and healthcare costs explodes everywhere in the world, and especially in the United States. Unemployment is up and the plants are bleeding money. And this is not a sign of a thriving ecosystem, so to say. This is what it tells me.
Yeah. Do you think people got into a kind of survivor mode? Like, let's just survive this, what's happening? Yeah, because this contract kind of preserves the status quo, right? On the issues that led to the strike. It doesn't really solve anything. And, on the AI, the studios agreed to hold further meetings, but didn't really commit to paying the writers if the script they write will be used to train AI models. And the AMPTP did agree through now to increase the 50% of success bonus for popular streaming shows to 75% of a writer's base residual. So they got a bit more than just a health plan, but I do feel that it's a sign that we are observing everywhere, that everybody is trying to sort of preserve the foundations, preserve the basics. There is not very revolutionary spirit, let's say, in LA. I don't know. That's how I read this.
I agree. That's a sign of the times right now. And it's not even a lot of emotion in there, that people go to the strike for that. It's just like, how can we find a pragmatic deal that reflects the situation that we're in right now? And of course, everybody's hoping for more thriving times. So what do we have in Europe?
Yes, exactly.
Now,
Let's
going
shift to Germany, because there is a big deal happening in Germany. I think the RTL closed the biggest deal in its entire history, and they are taking over Sky Deutschland. And this deal, I'm reading, will be effective June 1st. It's 150 million in cash upfront and potentially another 370 million depending on the performance. So from your perspective as a German producer, this is huge, right? This is good news, no?
Is it good news? I don't know. It's yes and no. I think it's clear that this happens also on a European scale. That you've tried to find these mini majors in a way to compete with the US. But if you look at the size, I mean, it's just much smaller than the Warner Paramount merger, and that also says something. But we also have to say that the European market is much more fragmented. This is the RTL deal with Sky Deutschland. So this is only the German part of Sky, and the German part of Sky has been undergoing some change also. They had a commissioning team here that was actually one of the best commissioning teams, I believe, who commissioned German series and films. And they were let go, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. Then the biggest thing that they had was the deal that they had with HBO. So all the HBO series that you wanted to watch here in Germany, you had to subscribe to Sky, or like the model is called Wow, but it's actually Sky. That also went away when HBO Max started their own channel here early this year. So the main reason for Sky now, being stripped down from all of this, the main reason for Sky is sports. And I think that's a complementary thing to what RTL has now. And I think 150 million is not even much. And the probable 377 million that they have to pay when stock reaches certain threshold, which is a very low threshold, so probably it's going to happen. It sums up to 500 million, which is also still a good deal, I think, for RTL. The whole competition dynamic changes so much that I think Brussels just had to approve it without any conditions.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's like half a billion, which is nothing in comparison to the Paramount Skydance merger, and Brussels really not giving any conditions. That's interesting, no? I mean, we talk a lot here about policy making and regulations. So what was the EU take on this?
Yeah,
What do
they
you
said,
think?
I mean, this is basically what they just mentioned, that they want to have a strong European player. And Sky, Wow, and RTL Plus, this is the subscribing model that RTL has here in Germany. They've got about 12 million subscribers now. And Thomas Rabe, the CEO of RTL, just mentioned that his ambition is to reach 15 million in the long term. It's a striking distance then to Netflix and Prime, but the profile is very different, like from the program that they have. And also, I mean, Rabe also said in the same interview on the same day, basically, that he will cut jobs, of course. I mean, on the same day it was released, like, we have to be more efficient here. But that's the nature of mergers. We assuming that it will happen with Warner and Paramount as well, because you have double structures, and that's just the nature of these mergers under capitalistic rules. So yeah, so it's really
Capitalism, our
layoffs.
favorite word.
Yeah, I mean, this is the system that we're working in, and we just, if we don't judge it, if we just take it as realistic as what it is, let's say we just accept what it is, then we know it's going to happen. Of course, there's not a merger; it's not coming for charity or growth. It's just to save cost.
Yeah, I mean, facts are facts, right? You cannot
Yeah.
really believe something just because you want it to happen. But do you think that consolidation really is a solution? I mean, is building a mini monster a good way to fight the major monster? Is it a symptom that the business model is basically broken? What do you think?
Yeah, at the moment it's a bit broken, I have to say. So the natural reaction is that did you merge, save cost, and try to get stronger in that way for what's coming? But actually, this is not a climate where these big companies push innovation or like invent new markets, new forms, and stuff like that. On the other hand, when this happens, and we discussed about it, I think, in one of the previous episodes, when this happens, there are always some innovation is coming from another angle. When the TV was in crisis like 10, 15 years ago, Netflix suddenly showed up with a completely different business model. And this can happen also from another point right now, the innovation, and whether it's vertical drama or something else, I don't know. But these big corporations, they are now more in the survival mode in a way.
Yeah, this is, I think, interesting that they turned into this. They are trying to consolidate, they are trying to build their foundations, which gives us, of course, more pressure and less partners to work with, but maybe opens us up to being more creative and to looking for, because audiences are still there, right? And they are looking for new content. They are looking to be entertained. And of course, it's difficult for an independent producer to compete with a live stream of major sports event. But then in Poland, a couple of days back, really, there was a huge charity fundraiser done online, which amassed, I think, 50 million euros for the Fight Cancer campaign. And I mean, even though I have certain doubts about it, it also proved that through YouTube, you can really generate a massive audience. This live broadcast, that was the whole point of the charity event. It was a like 9-day long live broadcast of one of the YouTubers, Wat Fogang, engaged over at the peak over like 1.5 million viewers watching it live, which if you compare it to numbers of TV broadcasts would place it, I think, in the third or fourth place of the most watched events this year. Of course, this was a one-off, and it's also, I would say, a statement to how everything becomes eventified and you have to build an event around everything, which is not a very sustainable way to actually fund your healthcare system, for example, because that needs stability and predictability and not organizing like one-off charity fundraisers. But for me, it's an interesting from a perspective of what audiences are looking for, and they are looking for true emotions, to be engaged. I don't feel that these big, consolidated companies can really offer that. They can offer more of a formulaic, structuralized content that will also probably take ages to be even greenlit, you know?
I mean,
think
they
that's
have the power. I totally agree with you. But I think they have one power, that's distribution. Because if they have really 12 or 15 million subscribers, they have access to people. And even though that might be shrinking at some point because they lose subscribers, which I think it's going to happen if they don't offer something exciting, something that has an emotional event or something to offer for the people. And they might lose some, but still they might have like 10 million or something. And this could, if they put the right content, again, I hate this word, but it's like, it could be a fundraiser, it could be a movie or a series in front of that audience can grow again, and this is something that the other filmmakers have to grow from scratch. You don't have 10 million people right away watching your thing on YouTube,
No.
right? But how did the people in Poland do that? Just were just influencers who already had reach?
Yeah, it was a kind of a battle between two influencers, and then one said that if he loses a challenge, he will watch a certain video for as long as sort of how many votes he received, and these votes amassed to like a 9-day watch. So he did that, and he did like a live stream from that, and it was a snowball effect. I mean, celebrities started coming to his apartment, joining him, big companies who should probably pay taxes rather than donate to charity as they please. But they started, chipping in, and it really snowballed. I mean, it was massive. It was all over media, and even me not being in the social media bubble anymore, even I heard of it. So it was really, transpiring through all the media outlets. Sports people joined, celebrities joined, actors joined, just to kind of give it more visibility. And it started really as a small kind of play between two YouTubers who had certain base of following, but definitely not 10 million,
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, because actually that's audience building, if you will.
Absolutely.
You build audience, yeah. But I mean, charity is something else.
Of course, there was a very noble cause behind it. And I think this was also a good example of how this new media and this new structure of you being content creator can be used, and use your platform for something good. Again, for me, it's a challenge that it's not a sustainable model to support the social issues that need to be addressed. And I think that's a great thing for, a one-off event, but it's not something that will solve the problems of our healthcare system. But I will not go into that because this is not a political podcast. It
might solve the problems of RTL and Sky finding more subscribers. If they make like a fundraiser for a good cause, maybe they drive more.
No, but this is it. I mean, Netflix is going into vertical storytelling. They are now describing it that it will allow the users to discover their stories through a form that they are kind of used to. But I can totally see this going into an original kind of content that is produced in that form. So Netflix also needs to retain this younger base that is very fickle, I would say.
Yeah, it is. So that's the landscape right now. There's consolidation, contraction.
Exactly. Let's dig deeper, because there are people in our industry who can maybe be a great kind of beacon for all of us how to shape the industry. and how to really build up the reality of European cinema. So let's talk to our guest, Kjersti, CEO of the Norwegian Film Institute. She's now in her second term, having been in the position since 2019. So she led Norwegian Film Institute through the COVID era into something that is being called a golden era for Norwegian film. In 2025, Norwegian films took awards in Berlin, in Cannes, at European Film Awards, and then it was, of course, coronated with winning the best foreign language picture for sentimental value. So let's hear from Kjersti how to do it. Kjersti, lovely having you with us in the Sideletters. Thank you for finding time.
Thank you for having me.
And let's start with a very simple question. How to build a golden era of a national cinema like you did in Norway?
I don't think I should take credit for the golden era like that, but my job here at the Norwegian Film Institute is to implement the audiovisual policy of Norway. And we actually just launched a new strategy, and it reflects many of the priorities we have been working on for quite a while. It's strengthening the Norwegian stories, making sure they reach the audience, and positioning them internationally. And I think inside that triangle, you might find some of the answers for the question you're asking. And I think it might be distinctive about Norway, or maybe the Scandinavian countries or the Nordics more broadly, is that we don't see film and series as an industry only. It's a combination of art, culture, and industry.
Great to having you, Kjersti. Thanks for joining us. So when you started your position there, what did you find there and what did you change? Did you, for example, decided to invest more in development or marketing or strengthen certain parts? Can you give us a little insights how you did it?
Well, I started just prior to the pandemic, and so we developed the previous strategy. We were working on it through the pandemic, but we decided quite early that we wanted to invest more in development, and we also got some extra funding because of the situation, so that we funded quite a lot of development a period of time. And I think that is one of the reasons that we have had many strong projects the last few years. But we also made this decision that to ensure the legitimacy of the public funding, we need to be very focused also on the response from the audience. And I think how proud we see the Norwegians being now for the Oscar win and everything around it it's also very important, both for the politicians, so that they can see that this is something that the people in our country really want, but also that they are proud that the world, they are actually watching our stories now. And it hasn't always been like that. In Scandinavia, we used to be, I would say, a little sister, and now we have grown into our own position.
Yeah.
But
you are the leading sister, I would say, these days, yes.
I try to be humble, but I'm also very proud of what we have achieved. But I would also like to add that in the situation we have today, we see that the culture aspect has become more important again, as we have this very unstable geopolitical context, that storytelling, identity, and the ability to tell our own stories really matter, and probably matter more now than it has done for the last decades.
Yeah, I mean, what you say about development, that's music to my ears. I think that's the essential part, really, of developing this connection with the audience, this cultural relevance. But I am also interested in how did you, in your tenure as the head of Norwegian Film Institute, developed ways connecting with the audience? Did you, for example, encourage some sort of research to be done by producers? Did you introduce some programs that supported producers in understanding what the audiences need?
Yes, and I would say that we have also been very attentive to what our big sister Denmark have been doing, because they also developed a scheme for audience insight, and they worked together with this Willen agency, Danish agency. They are now present in many European countries and are doing a combination of big data and interviews, trying to build connection to the target groups and the deeper understanding. And it's not from our side. We are very clear that we are not interested in deciding on neither the topics or the audience they want to reach, etc., but that we want to facilitate. So it's possible for them to understand how they can connect with the audience on a deeper level. And it's neither about making only financing films with the biggest possible audience, but that the audience they want to reach, they have to ensure it's going to make a real impact on them. This is we have this example. It's a film for young people, and it's made in Sami. It's the first youth film for us in Sami, and it was so useful for them just to broaden it out. I mean, a lot of films for youth are made by people in their 40s, and being a teenager today is. It might be quite different.
It's a bit different than being a teenager 20 years ago.
Yes. So, I mean, it's quite obvious that it would be very useful if you're open. And we are not trying to take control of the projects or decide how they use the insight, but we want to facilitate so it's possible for them to understand the people they are targeting, because they are not like you. And it has been really useful. But I think also in the times we are living, there are more and more technology that you can use to get this kind of insight. So I think this will develop further, probably as we speak. Yeah.
That's very interesting, because the question basically is, how do you measure success then if you take it beyond the box office, right? Because the box office is a clear indicator. You reach a certain amount of audience and they pay a certain amount of money. So that's easy to measure. For example, with the Sami film, is there any metrics that you have, like metrics of success that you might have established at the Norwegian Film Institute to say, okay, this is, you know what I mean? This is a success that's not reflecting at the box office, but it's reflecting that you reached the right audience or you sparked a discussion or...
No, we haven't really develop that kind of metrics. But as a base, you can say that even, I mean, we're a very small market, 5 million people, but the niche in a small market will be bigger as we open up the global market. So and I mean, the interest in films from the Sami people has been increasing enormously the past few years. It was his debut, and he learned so much from the process. And I think that it opens up his perspective also for the following projects that he's developing. And I mean, we also, and that can also be to add on what is the secret. I mean, on the one side, you have investment in development, and on the other side, you have developing the talent. Because I see a lot of the films that have been very successful the last few years, they have been made of debutants. So one of the changes we actually did was that we launched a new program for debutants. And you can say like Lilja Ingolfsdottir, who made Lovable. It was a big success.
Karlove Vary winner, another win for Norwegian cinema.
I think she won every prize, actually. And also that was a big box office success in the home market. But Lilja, she was I think 50 or 51 when she finally made it.
Because she had an acting career beforehand, right?
No, she didn't have an acting career. She made, I don't know, 10 shorts maybe, because we were not really able to release the debutants. But now we have really let them out the previous 4 years, actually. And that has also been really refreshing for the Norwegian cinema, because we have these new voices. And of course, we have our big storytellers. And now we have many fresh storytellers also. And they make, even if we try to make a group out of them, even though they, of course, want to be singular talents, they make films that they feel fresh, they feel relevant, they are very contemporary. And
I think what you're saying is super interesting, because it's when we are trying to build this recipe for success, one is investment in development, so openness to experiment, also to failure, that something might fail. Then using the technology that's available to do market research, but not used to structure the projects into the favor of audience, but rather understanding what audience is there for your film and to how to reach them. And that also you're putting a lot of pressure or importance on building new talents. And as Fabian was asking about the success metrics, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that exactly, box office is not necessarily the most important thing. If it's a film that builds a new talent, if it's a film that shows a theme or a topic that has not been previously addressed, or gives a chance to somebody who had a great track record but never had a chance to make a feature film. So that's super interesting. But in the context,
you're a great translator, Joanna.
I am, because I like a structure, and I want people to take notes as they listen to this podcast. I mean. These are lessons to be learned. No, but I mean, how do you involve also new players? Because in your time in the Norwegian Film Institute, we had this, of course, big discussion about streamers, about direct investment. There were some big titles coming from Norway that were Netflix originals. So how are you involving them in the ecosystem, and what's the Institute relation to these new partners?
I would say that when I first arrived, it was this deep conflict between the streamers on the one side and the cinema on the other. And it's, for me, I came from the media industry, and I mean, I have been working in transformation for 20 years. So it's like, okay, it's changing. How can we approach it? And it's been an ongoing work. And to say that we can't go back, it's not going to work. So we have to look ahead and see how can we make this become a new ecosystem. And I mean, we are not there now that we can say that we have a well-functioning ecosystem. But I think that the streamers have contributed to quite a few important changes. One is that people are actually watching films with subtitles now. We come from a small country. We have been watching subtitles always. But now people all over the world are watching Norwegian films with subtitles. So that's great. And the streamers, they have also contributed to a level of production in our country that we are so much more professional now. So we have grown thanks to the streamers. And then on the other hand, it has been also conflicts, of course. But we see now a lot of Norwegian titles. They perform very well, primarily at Netflix, but also other streamers. And we have had this platform neutrality in our policy for quite a while, but we have also the last years increased the importance of stressed the importance of the cinema even more, because it's not because we think that it's streaming or cinema, but because the ecosystem is not there, that the financing models, they are not sustainable like it is now. But we can also see that that agreements that the producers make with the Netflix and the other streamers, they are more balanced now. So trying to find how is this patchwork of financing going to be possible going forward, more sustainable for the producers. And from our side, we have always been very consistent on the ownership of the IP. So we don't fund, yes, we don't fund project, even though we think that it's great how the streamers have developed the Norwegian sector. We have been very consistent on that the producers, they need to own their rights. And if they sell all the rights, they will have no support from us.
I love this. Fabian, now you understand why I want to move to Scandinavia. I mean, come on. We figured it out.
We have a law in Germany on the way also, which is the obligation to investing. But it's a big discussion whether to include the IP, like the return of the rights, which is for us producers not to be discussed, actually. Because why fund somebody who just takes all the rights? I mean, this is basically theft.
But I can say that this has been a journey. Of course, it's developing over time, and we are never going to let go, insisting that the producers need to own their own rights. But what we also can see is that the producers, they are empowered by us, because then they go into negotiation and they say, but we will not have support if we don't own the IP. So they are empowered by us being strict.
They have leverage, exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Yes. Earlier in this podcast, we were discussing the news about the Writers Guild voting the New Deal with the studios. And the news was also about a low turnout of voters, of writers showing up to vote that New Deal. And I'm curious to know, how active is the industry in Norway, I mean, the strategy you have built up together, the negotiations that you, as I understand, have about the principles of the audiovisual policy and also the stand of the of the Norwegian Film Institute in regard to streamers. Is it made in a coalition of all the industry players? How do you guys do it on a practical level?
I think we spent a year on making this new strategy, and we have had a deep involvement of the industry, and we did also a massive research. When we presented it, we also had these roundtables discussing this is how we see it, how is your views, and we integrated it. So when we presented it, it was like, I would say the main response was that this is the first time we see a strategy from the Norwegian Film Institute that we actually feel is mirroring the situation we're in. And then we will always have the situation that we can't prioritize everything. So it won't be like everyone is happy. But I think mainly you can say that most of the industry feel it's accurate on the description of the situation. And then we will always have, even though we are well funded compared to many, of course we never have enough. So you will have these different opinions on if the priorities are at. And I mean, we really want to strengthen the whole ecosystem from early development to the audience reach. And we support series, films, documentaries, games, the whole value chain. So, I mean, it's a lot, and therefore everyone won't be happy at all times. It's impossible. But I still feel that our dialogue with the sector is healthy, I would say. But it's also important to remember that we are a governmental agency. I report to the Minister of Culture. I work for the politicians, but we have this arm's length distance incorporated into the law. So it's not like they decide the projects, but we have political goals. So this is an act of balancing, I would say.
A political question, if I can, because I know we are pressed for time and your time is very precious. But you're also a member of EFAD, the Federation of Agencies. And what are the challenges you see for the industry in Europe in general from that position? What are the biggest challenges for institutes like yours in the European context?
I mean, we are very fortunate being Norwegian, and I would say that the most important probably is to protect the arm's length principle. And I would also say that safeguarding the media program's position inside the Agora EU. And maybe in the bigger picture, I think as I started out, defending culture, because now we are talking about defense and competitiveness. But I mean, who are we if we don't tell our own stories in our own language? So I think the European challenge to stay as united in Europe. So fighting for the schemes in Creative Europe and the Euromarch, so it facilitates the cooperation between us and the budgets for it, but also to try to keep the politicians on the distance from the artistic decisions, I think is really, really core.
We absolutely agree with you. Looking at the clock, I think...
Yes, but I have so much I would like to say. Can we continue some other day?
We can, absolutely. We want to have you to be our guest again.
Yes, but is there like one last sentence or one last thought that you would like to share with our listeners? The floor is yours, Kjersti.
Yes, I mean, we come from a small country and we are very proud for the development that we have been seeing and hope that it can inspire other small countries without maybe this great legacy to really make an effort to try to move into the company of these bigger players. But I think for us, the international collaboration is really, really essential. And the co-productions is really a backbone of how we work. So they allow us to combine the talent, the financing, and the audience. If I am to say a few words, I would say let's keep the collaborational spirit in the business and especially in Europe.
Fantastic. Great.
Thank you so much, Kjersti, for joining us today. For your precious time.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jakob, for helping us arrange this.
And just let's just stay in touch, and then next time we will book an hour, okay?
Absolutely. Okay, and great. We can do a deep dive into Norwegian case study. Thank you so much for your time, and well, good luck in Cannes. I'm sure there will be some new titles and announcements coming up from Norway soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kjersti Mo, for being our wonderful guest. Thanks also to the Norwegian Film Institute's communication consultant, Jakob Berg, to making this possible, and to my admired co-hosts, Joanna Chimanska and Jennifer Saba-Imagine. That's it for today. Make sure you follow our community on LinkedIn. That's simply the Sideletters. And see you next Wednesday when we will be back with B2B insights on the creative industries in Europe.